Am I the idiot for refusing to take my girls to meet their grandparents on their father's side? I, female 23, and my husband, male 26, have been arguing over this since my oldest was born, male 20, and then I have a 2M. I want to be totally clear that his parents haven't done anything wrong and they're not bad people. The issue is they live 26 hours away. They have never met either of their grandchildren, and I have only met his mom and sister when I was pregnant with our first, and met up halfway. So they are basically strangers to me as well as complete strangers to the girls. Yet my husband is really pushing to take the trip since he hasn't seen his family in 5 years. My refusal comes in with the logistics of it all. Our girls are really big grandmas and papas, girls on my side they always have been, and since we are temporarily living with my parents, as we wait for our new place the girls are bonding even more to them. So that would be like ripping them away from all they ever knew and putting them into unknown territory with a bunch of strangers that are going to try hugging, kissing, holding them, and I know that would make them uncomfortable, and it would bother me too. I don't want anyone's blood or not to cross my girls' boundaries. Beyond that trip, anyone who has ever had to ride in a car with a toddler or a baby knows that would be constantly stopping upset babies and just plain frustrating for 26 hours. That's just a really long time to have them in car seats too. I've also entertained the idea of a plane, but handling 2 little ones on a small cramped plane with people who don't want to hear them seems so great. I roll. I can't do the plane though. I have extremely sensitive ears due to a hole in my eardrums after having tubes as a kid till 18. Even if we got through the traveling part, then comes sleep schedules, they'd be all messed up, and I don't like sleeping in random places, so why would the girls? With all this in mind, I just had another disagreement with the hubby about it again after he brought up compromises, one being we meet one halfway again on a 13-hour trip, and another being we stay the summer again. They'll miss my parents that have been with them their whole life. Plus he's an over-the-road trucker. He's only home 1 week out of a month or a month and a half, so the majority of childcare is me. He'll get to leave and have me deal with sleep schedule, and I can't see my gram or papa meltdowns that she has now, and we live with them at the moment. All of that would be on me in some stranger's home. He says, and I quote, "So what, the girls will get it over it?" My response was, "So will your family." Also, I want to point out that I have told him I'm totally fine with him going down there by himself, but he doesn't want to go alone. So with all this in mind, I want to clarify some things. The first being that I have offered to host their grandparents over the last 2 years in our old place, and have offered to host once we settle in our new place. They have never taken the offer. 2, I have offered it so that the babies would at least start to recognize their voices and faces, but they haven't taken that offer either. So this is basically one-sided relationship on our end to them. 3, my husband wants us to go down for the whole summer, but he would only be there 2 to 3 weeks out of 2 to 3 months because the only way to afford this would be for him to work. I have offered to do 1 week, but he got offended saying 1 week wasn't enough, so my next offer was 1 week altogether, and the next month he could take his week alone, which he didn't like either. YDA, the kids will not love your parents less if they develop a relationship with the rest of their grandparents. The travel excuse is just that, an excuse. You are completely disregarding the feelings of everyone that did not give birth to you. Do better. You're the idiot. Of course your husband wants to show his children off to his family. Kids are very adaptable. When my daughters were 1 and 2 years old, we drove 36 hours to go see family. We made a game out of it for the kids. Experiencing new things is part of learning. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for working a shift during my daughter's birthday? I, male 42, am a registered nurse. My wife, female 41, and I have a daughter who turned 8 today, and we decided to throw a party for her. Despite me working full-time at a hospital and part-time at an aesthetics clinic, our finances are such that we are always late on the mortgage because of our other expenses. Mainly because my wife has a career as an equestrian and her expenses for that career set up back around $38,000 a year. Add that to our house in a gated community close to the stables where they keep my wife's horse and our student loans, shopping, golf, etc. We are always behind on our mortgage. So I was shocked to find out that the day after we were denied a very small loan, as well as a credit card that caters to people with bad credits, that my wife paid an extra $550 for a better party photographer. We could not get the deposit for the other one back. In the days leading up to the party, I was losing sleep over our finances. Pulling doubles has become my norm, but I'm usually off Saturdays. However, I have a reputation as being the one who will pick up any shift on short notice, so much so that my coworkers resent me because management asks why they cannot be like me. So a coworker got sick last minute, and I was told Friday night that they needed somebody for all of Saturday, offering a 12-hour shift. I knew my daughter's party was today, but I knew I would have spent the whole party sweating about the fact that we cannot pay our mortgage. So I decided to pick up that shift. When my wife found out I was going to work at 7 a.m. and not going to be home until evening, she was furious and accused me of being a bad father. She has not talked to me since. Am I the idiot for trying to pay bills? Everyone sucks here. Y'all need to reconsider your financial decisions. A career that loses you $38,000 a year is not a career. Y'all need to have a come to Jesus moment and talk about your finances realistically. Edit to add, in another comment Opie says it's a net loss as though that makes it better. I don't care if she's grossing over $1 million. The fact this career is costing you money and meaning you work 2 jobs, it's not sustainable. Not the idiot for picking up a shift to cover expenses, but you and your wife are. You're the idiot for ending up in a financial situation like this with a kid. Seriously, you guys need to have a discussion about your finances if this is a situation. Like, I don't fully understand equestrian, but if she is spending $38K a year and not making income, that's not a career, that's a freaking hobby. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for giving my 18 years old an ultimatum to continue living here? My husband, male 41, and I, female 36, have 5 kids aged 3 through 18. I recently had surgery which left me with many restrictions for several weeks. 18 decided to go spend the first week with their bio mom, even after having agreed to help me and being told what that entailed: housework, nothing medical or hygienic. 17 agreed to help as well, but they're not able to do everything by themselves either. During this week, 18 missed several days of work for various reasons, then messaged me saying they were going back to BM's after the one day they did go to work. And I talked, then I told 18 that should they do that, they were to come to the house first, gather their clothing, and leave their phone, on our plan, and everything else, as they are showing they are wishing to not be part of this household due to willfully neglecting their responsibilities. I explained that we are not evicting them, merely outlining what is expected and what their other option was at that time. Yes, I know it should have been H's responsibility to have this conversation, but they don't always see eye to eye, and it may have led to a fight where 18 did leave. They came home that night, then cleaned one counter the following day after being asked to help with the kitchen. As expected, there was a lot of attitude and grumbling. I explained that we don't want them to leave. We love them and want them to have a stable home until they're ready to go. We have tried to guide them gently and easily, but that hasn't proven to work, so it's time for tough love. And I told them that even if they choose to leave, they will have our support in everything they do, just not financially. While we have good jobs for our area, we cannot afford to keep paying for an adult who doesn't wish to participate in the household. Unfortunately, the extreme lack of reliability to do chores by myself, health issues that surgery hopefully corrected, and the oldest two, refusal to help except for random bouts of generosity on their parts, has taught the younger ones that they don't need to help either. We're working on getting everyone on track. Has been the one to pick up all the slack, and it's wearing him down. I do want to say that I am 18 and I usually get along wonderfully. 18 has told me on multiple occasions that BM wants them to move in with them, so if they left here, they do technically have somewhere to go. We're just leery because BM is basically 2 steps above needing to live in a group home setting. I just don't know if I did the right thing by laying out clear expectations for them to stay, or if I should have just let them continue on as they have been and keep silent. You're the idiot. I'm confused by all the mixed signals. Were they failing in expectation to help as a special arrangement because of your surgery or as a normal household contribution? Were you angry because they missed some days of their paid job work, or because they weren't at your house doing the housework? Did you tell them to leave because they did come home sufficiently but didn't help enough? Or because although they did wipe the counter but hadn't been home enough? And what was the relation between the location of residence versus providing financial support? If your 18 is half as confused as I am, they are probably very confused. I'm okay with parents giving an ultimatum of do X or leave, but it's very unclear what X is supposed to be. You're the idiot. I don't understand why you are trying to exercise this level of control over this kid. If they are at their mom's house, they aren't there messing up your home. Then you tell them to get their stuff and leave the phone? Then you are mad because all they did was wipe the counter? Honestly, you sound like a damn nightmare. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for asking my friend about why I was not invited for a holiday dinner? To set up the context, I am a graduate student in a small department. During Thanksgiving, I invited my classmates who stayed in town over for dinner, including one classmate who I will refer to as Kara. For reference, another classmate, Brenda, was also in town but did not join for Thanksgiving. Fast forward a few months later, I heard Kara, Brenda, and another classmate, Darren, were arranging a holiday dinner for the New Year's. I asked Kara if I could join, and Kara said sure but would have to check with Brenda and Darren first. A few days pass. I hear back from Kara saying that Darren had changed plans and was going back to visit their family. Since Darren was leaving, Brenda and Kara decided to do a girls' night instead. This happened the day before the scheduled dinner. I was disappointed, especially since I had already purchased some food to bring for the dinner, but did not challenge their decision. Then a month later, I heard from Brenda that Brenda, Kara, Darren, and 2 additional classmates had a New Year's dinner. Confused about this situation, I asked Kara a few days later to clarify what happened during New Year's. Kara told me that she and Brenda had a girls' night, and then the following week, Brenda arranged dinner with the rest of the classmates. What irritated me was that Brenda had referred to this dinner as a New Year's dinner, so in my mind it seemed like they had simply moved the original plans without letting me know. I mentioned to Kara that I felt excluded, especially since most of my classmates were invited. A few days later, another classmate, Edgar, who did not attend any of the outings, wrote a public post telling everyone to mind their own business and not to make other people uncomfortable. I confronted Edgar about their posts privately, saying they shouldn't make blanket statements. Edgar told me that Kara had told him that I had made her uncomfortable by asking about the dinner. To summarize, am I the idiot? Asked my friend to clarify what happened. I understand that people are entitled to do whatever social activities with whomever they want and accept that. But I felt particularly hurt by Edgar making a public statement, especially as they were not involved with any of the events. Edit. For extra background, Kara and Darren had asked me if I would celebrate the New Year. Initially, I said I was agnostic towards the holiday, but I took it as a soft invite and asked Kara to join a couple of days later. The actual dinner that took place a week after ended up being hosted and organized by Brenda, although to what degree Kara, Darren, or anyone else was involved in its planning I do not know, as I did not ask further. Edit 2. New Year's is specifically Chinese New Year's here. The graduate group is a mix of Americans and internationals who are mostly from Asia. Edit 3. To be clear, I did not know that the two events, the girls' night and the dinner, were separate until I spoke with Kara. I was confused and had asked because it sounded like they were the same event. Edit 4. Edgar's post was an undirected message telling people to mind their own business and to not make up problems that don't exist, although I confirmed with him privately that the message was directed at me. Kara's response included a bit saying all of us are friends and to not worry about it, but she did not mention specifically why some people were not invited. Edit 5. Thanks everyone for your input. Seems like the main takeaway is that there is a fairly strong norm on not asking to join others' planned activities. For some disclosure, most of my social interactions were online during the pandemic, where the logistical considerations are different. My online friend groups definitely have a invite yourself norm, and we ran into the opposite problem until everyone got on the same page. I also get that real life and online activities are different. To be honest, I am typically very hesitant to ask to join other people's activities to begin with, even in the online setting, but I also have never been bothered by others asking to join my plans. Kara had also invited someone she had met just a few days prior to my Thanksgiving dinner without consulting me first, but I did not have any problems with it. So I think maybe part of that made me more comfortable with asking her to include me for New Year's. I also realized that I have been imposing a double standard on myself. I often feel compelled to open up my own planned social activities to include more of my classmates even when it was originally intended as a smaller outing, and I think this leads to a feeling of, why am I always including everyone, but folks aren't including me? Again, I am fine with small private outings, but I tend to perceive holidays as generally being more inclusive. Lastly, I don't think it is as extreme as saying they have a direct problem with me. There have been other occasions where Kara and Brenda have invited me, and where they have accepted my invitations since the Chinese New Year's dinner. My main gripe was Edgar making a public post instead of sending me a private message. Edit 6. It might have been a cultural difference too. I think I might just not have been perceived as Asian enough for their considerations during their planning. Not the idiot. Also, they're not your friends. I wouldn't ask people that are relatively new in my life. I would just cut them out. I have a long-term friend, since childhood, and I'm 40, who out of the blue somehow ghosted me. This is the type of event that I would ask what's going on. And I did. It turned out he has some problems, but not with me, anyway. You're the idiot. You were not invited ever. Not once were you invited. For a graduate student. You don't know social cues, do you? So let me help. If you are not explicitly invited, given a direct invite, then you are not invited. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.